You all ready to join me today in our trip to outer space?
Yeah.
Albert Shivers.
The Matrix doesn't have him.
That's very true.
Come along quietly or not.
They don't have to like it, but they're gonna see what happens.
Goodbye, wimps.
And now, without further ado,
from Albert Shivers.
The general concept is that creativity flourishes in an atmosphere of freedom.
I wanna know where we can go. We could drink the water, and if we walk from there to the highest mountain, could we see forever? Lay me down in glory. This is what I cry for. We should make this world a better place. Living worth it, living what the night for. Die for. Die for, die for, die for, die for, die for, die for, die for. So it goes as the story unfolds. Brothers call it progress as they chop it all down just to sell it off. Well, they would kill it all if they could profit somehow. And now we all fall down. Fall down, fall down, fall down, fall down, fall down, fall down, fall down. As we spiral, we're out of control. We are just like a free fall downward, downward we go. As we spiral, we are out of control. With no more foundation, yes we fall, and as we fall. Long story. You should have known that there would be disaster. I'm so surprised. Should have used your eyes what they were made for. Buildings falling, natural disasters, resource wars, political scandals, tides are rising, the temperature's harder. We all knew, but nobody bothered. And we're out of control. We are just like a free fall downward, downward we go. As we spiral, we are out of control. With no more foundation, yes we fall, and yes we fall. We're as we spiral, we're out of control. With no more foundation, yes we fall.
Hello, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Planet Shivers podcast. This is Albert Shivers, and the song you just heard was Spiral by the band POW WOW, who is the special guest on this episode today. Now, we don't have the whole band, but founding member Tom Dente and their newest member, our buddy Isaac Wilson, joined the show during our big roundtable recording to talk about the band POW WOW and everything that's behind it. So I'm not going to jab on too long in this episode. I just want to jump right to the POW WOW conversation. But don't forget, you can check out what I'm doing with art, film, and the podcast on Instagram at Albert Shivers or on your computer or phone at www.albertshivers.com. I hope you enjoy this episode. I enjoyed talking to Tom and Isaac about the band, as well as the thought process and mythology behind all of what they're doing. This podcast is also a branch off of the roundtable recordings that we did, so you're sitting at the table with everybody. The levels may go up and down.
When did gum get so soft, you sons of bitches? You know what this country used to chew? Tree bark, glass, shotgun shells, the broken swords of our vanquished enemies. That's why I buy Bazooka Joe gum. It's like chewing a mountain that someone shot a freeze ray into. What's wrong with this country, huh? When did we lose our way? Detroit? Life is hard. Shouldn't everything else be harder?
So I'd like to hear from each of you what the band is about, how it was founded, so you guys go, correct me at any point if I'm wrong, but you guys talk about yourselves as Farmcore.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know, seriously, where that came from and what the meaning is behind it. Because when Isaac first explained it to me, I was intrigued. And I was interested in knowing more about it, deeper about it. So go.
How did you explain it? I want to know what he says. Yeah.
Oh man, God. Yeah, it's. I guess I use call it a genre, kind of unlike anything. Like, well, yeah. I mean, it's not really a genre you would say that's found around, you know. Yeah, it's just this sort of Northeast PA circuit of you know, music and stuff.
I guess how it was like, you know, Brian, our drummer, he's goofy. So how the farmcore thing came up was like we were always trying to just figure out some kind of thing. It was eco-core, it was other things over there. And farmcore just stuck. You know, when we wrote like Back to the Farm, that song, like we were gonna call it at some point do a whole album called Back to the Farm, and we just stuck with farmcore. But we just think that like sustainable agriculture, small scale, done on a large scale, would solve a lot of problems for humanity. But of course, there's so much what do you call it, false. The money's all fucked up, you know, so it might not work with it. But yeah, we think agriculture is the way, so we just called it Farmcore, and we thought it was a cool name and that kind of stuff. And people think it's unique, and we never heard it, so right, it's almost like a sales pitch. Like a unique idea. Yeah.
It really stands out.
I've
never heard stuff.
No, and that's what people say. It's a talking point. But farming ain't going to save us because of subsidies. So, you know, this is a political thing, right? We're not really into politics. We don't take sides as a band. But, yeah, we sing farmcore because I know that, you know, food, clothing, shelter, and spiritual well-being is all we need to survive. But as long as there's property tax and income tax, well, forget it. And keeping food cheap in the store keeps it so you can't really... But yeah, we're one of the first cultures removed from our food source and making our own food. Not only ever people that ever did that was like slaves and prisoners. So it's just strange that in this country where they boast freedom and pound their chest out all this shit, we don't even fucking have nothing to eat.
It's a byproduct of the Industrial Revolution.
The military-industrial complex and so many conversations to how did this happen, but Jesus Lord, it's a fucking bizarre thing, man. So we sing about it.
It's a dialogue.
You know, I feel like I'm in a weird movie.
Yeah, that's what we're all.
Because I grow a lot of food. Brian's into it. Tony's kind of new in it. Isaac and his family is really cool. Like getting Isaac, we want to say, was real cool for us because he can play. And I knew his dad first through music stores and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and even I remember when I first started trying to do lessons up here. I think I went. Did your folks have some kind of paper or something?
Yeah, the Village View.
So I advertised in the Village View. I went in and
my pops
sat down with them. And I'm like, I want to put an ad in for doing music lessons, and they did. And I got 8 or 10 students, and I was doing lessons over in Jersey.
And I'm sure he would have told me, and I'm sure I would have seen it. But yeah. And so that's what we just knew Isaac, like, and having him as a treat, because
or it's a mix,
and he gets to farm and stuff, man.
But it's awesome.
Yeah, I think everybody should grow food and hang out and play drums and music and
it seems to
knock off the bullshit.
For sure.
Like even in a religious connotation, which I'm not, but like if Jesus couldn't have fed the multitude, they'd rip each other to shreds.
We'll go counterclockwise,
right? You know what I mean? So we really, or like when the Soviet Union collapsed, they're pretty largely agrarian. There wasn't so much craziness. But if this goes down, man, nobody's gonna have nothing to eat. This will be really bad. This will be like Somalia, which we were talking about before. People losing their way, they dose them up with the Western medicine, right? The guns and booze and stripper girls and stuff, and then there's nothing left to eat when you lose that, when the gas goes out or the lights go out. So we sing about all this shit. That's where Farmcore came from. Yeah.
So would you say, so I've seen you guys play a handful of times, would you say that the heaviness of your music reflects these messages that you're trying to put out there?
Not at all. That's a bizarre thing that happened to us. I love music, all music, and I've been always in all kind of music. But like the first time I ever went to a hardcore show, which was probably at like CC's up in Music, and seeing that level of intensity from like 50 people
needs to be.
I said, "Holy shit!" And then I got into that music and started listening to it, hardcore and punk ska, all this shit. And for a while, I thought, until I got to know and got older and wiser, that maybe these guys had a real movement and they were going to do things that they don't. Because, like, even at our shows, they'd be like, "Hey, you want to go to White Castle after this?" And I'm like, "I'm ready to hit him in the head with a chair."
Did you listen to this?
Yeah. I'm like, no. Thanks, bro. Like, you know, but the intensity of it was just because I thought it's a little radical and we're in a radical place. The message, it's really hippie music, but just done with like machine guns, right? As far as music goes, if you could call it like that, you know, it's just so
balance the sound, yeah.
Yeah.
I say it matches the like sort of intensity of the message, if you would. But yeah, just the philosophy big on like self-sustainability.
There's like a real duality to it, like having a self-sustainable, hippie, nice, peaceful message. Because we're not singing about war and violence, not at all. We're singing mostly about peace.
Mhm.
But you know, we're angry about what's going on with our culture and stuff, and like this fucking nonsense, this corporatist. It's not even real capitalism. It's not even real socialism. It's all this weird shit. You know, they privatize profit and socialize debt on us and all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I should have opened with this, talking to you guys about the band. But for the record, what does POW WOW stand for?
Oh, pain of wisdom in a world of waste.
Okay. Where'd y'all come up with that?
Selling point, right? Well, no, really, like critical thinking, right? Somewhere along the line in my life, I came to critical thinking, and then like one of the first major phases of critical thinking is, some people go through depression, so I did. Yeah, right, because you're like, what the fuck is going on, man, right? And so drugs and stuff only work so much, and I never did hard drugs. That's a joke, I say, but like, alcohol and stuff. But like, no, the smarter you get, the worse it is what you see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I say that humbly. I'm not trying to say I'm a smart guy or nothing, but if you're tapped in and you pay attention,
There's
and
the
you got
pain
your
of
fucking
wisdom.
it's the pain of wisdom, and this world is just a world of waste. But that's nature, man. Constant state of nature has changed, and I find as I get older, I find solace in this because where am I going to be? I could really sing the blues because I know these things, but which in the duality of message is a big infusion of different styles of music. We have a punk metal drummer, a rock blues guitarist, and a funk jazz bassist. So and a guy that really don't sing; he's just talking. You know what I mean? In different tones of intensity. So it's really weird. And him, I don't know what would you? Yeah, I mean, you're a blues, rock, funk guitarist.
He's finding it.
But he's finding it.
But you're always finding
funky,
it.
He's like something.
What style would you say you are? I would say you're funky. I think it's a very unique style.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
It's meshing. We couldn't be happier. Like, because we've been a three-piece.
The
band's 15 years old. The band, so we were a two-piece for like 2 years. And then we were a three-piece for. We've always had guys come and go, guitar player here and there, but like probably if we're 15 years old, we've been a three-piece for 13 of that. So like but it's fitting in, and he started writing right away. So, in fact, we gave him 12 songs to learn, and he learned them in like 10 days.
That's how you do it.
I was shocked.
He was right next door. He was playing them.
I was shocked, dude. I was surprised because we're me. I'm like he's hanging out. I'm like what the fuck. He's always saying let's jam. And I'm like man, just learn the songs to the band, because I don't have a lot of time. And when I do jam, I do studio shit with other stuff, and I do a lot of stuff, and so when he started learning the shit, I mean I jammed with him a few times over the years, so I knew he had chops. But when he learned the songs, big change.
Yeah, just like with the open mics and mic and everything, just sitting down for a week straight, just listening to stuff over and over until it's just part of who you are.
Was that right around the same time? You starting to like hit the open mics and then hopping?
Yeah, it was like right before. Right?
Yeah, it was like that summer.
He was doing that a little before. I knew he was doing it.
From my perspective, seeing that, because Isaac's been playing since I was a little kid. Right. So to see him playing, and all of a sudden he's playing in bars. And he jumped right into a band. He's playing shows and shit. It was just crazy. It really was
crazy.
How quick it happened.
It's an awesome experience.
It's all a fucking. It's an illusion. That's
happening right in front of me,
playing with Rob. He had the best band name ever, Smoke and Mirrors. That's how we started.
It's an illusion.
Yeah.
And I want to say the other two guys in the band, it's hard to hear it and be objective to it. But now, like, when I listen to it, I'm like, holy fuck, man. The band's awesome. And it's because we got a killer bass player. He's a really good. Those guys are good, and Brian's really good. I mean, we're limited to a style because Brian plays one way, and that's it. And so, like, right, how many demos do we make where he's just like, no. So we'll like,
he has an ear for that sound.
Yeah, he wants the sound, so he picks all the songs. So that's how it goes. So we're stuck in a box, but we manipulate him slowly. But you got to do it slow with him. Through time. Yeah. So like we got to play some hippie shit now, dude.
Think outside the box and then just work inside of it.
Yeah.
That's what
He sticks us in a box, and that's where our freedom is. Within that realm, we find out how to make music we like.
I remember
punk and metal beats.
I don't know when it was, maybe 2013 or 2014 or something. But when did you start playing with Tony? Must have been around then, right? 13 or 14. I remember Jay telling me we were sitting there in the shop, and he's like, Tony's starting to play with Tom. They got this Farmcore thing going. I'm like, Farmcore? And he's like explaining it. I'm like, that's cool as shit. And then I played with Tony for a few years at least, and he's a monstrous musician.
You know what my favorite story?
He listens.
He's really good, dude. He has a unique approach. He's like a James Brown bass player, but now he plays heavy metal. So it's like, wow. But this is a true story. Like when he came in the band, and this is what we do with everybody because we've had guys come and go. So like, and because Brian, and this is important for me because I'm a dreamer. Brian's not. This is the songs. Learn them or fuck off.
He's methodical.
So when Tony came in, it's like, dude, we want you to play, but you got to learn like 10 songs before we start writing. And the one thing about it is a lot of our music, there's a lot of singles.
Yeah.
What's that?
I just remember Tony coming in and getting his gear together and stuff at the shop. Like, hey, fix this up. Hey, put this in here. And I remember
we had to drop tunings on them. And because we play a whole step down, lowered, and so guitars have to be
anyway,
just
right.
But you got to pet the guitars.
Keep going on.
So there's a lot of like single notes with our music, and Tony was a real like the Seinfeld bass player, and like so like, yo, check it out, dude. It took us like 3 months to get him to go boom. Bomb, and I'm like, do that and just move your head because he can't, you'd be like,
he does that really well now. But he's had a lot of practice.
He does it great now, dude. Like, yeah. So now, like, I swear it was like once he did that,
he's the tone.
He came one time and he's the tone, bro. And I'm like, yo, you gotta play one riff. He was awesome. Yeah, he came and we wrote a song with him after he learned how to do the one note for like 36 bars. Yeah. And then now he's savagely savage.
He is because now he can fucking ride that groove and then he can.
Yeah, because we try to stick to the point, and then when it's time to accent, and we try to really make the music theatrical. And so, if you're always slamming all over the place, there's too much going on, man. Settle down, everybody, just chill the fuck out.
It's that
and when it's your
Pixies
time
loud,
to
quiet,
run.
loud thing.
The what?
The loud, quiet, loud thing.
You need the lows to feel the highs.
And then,
exactly.
Yeah, the juxtaposition of the two energies.
Yeah, it comes from color.
Like you're sitting
It's
there
color,
with pins and
tone colors,
needles, and then
light,
you're
dark,
getting run over by
you
a
don't
bulldozer.
just speak in one tone either.
Amen.
Makes
and
it
this is
exciting.
why with our drums we follow the vocals a lot, which is what a lot of other punk bands don't do. So it makes us a little weird, and we don't do things in standard fours hardly ever, right or wrong. Everything's like we're doing like pre-fills on 3 ends, and we're doing a lot of nothing's 4/4. So like over the years we've tried out so many guys that were good musicians, but they're like, fuck this shit. It's too much to know. Like it's progressive music. It's progressive. If you fall off, it's hard. We practice falling off because you got to stop and wait and get back because the songs start and they go like this. There's hardly not a lot of like, it's not normal, but it sounds it. We keep it going. I listen to a lot of show tune music and shit, and like TV music was a big thing for me.
Following a formula for no reason.
Those guys, man, yeah, you listen to all that stuff in it, but it's very complex. But it doesn't sound that way to your ear.
Right.
So it's the simplicity. It's dualistic. We try to
the
keep
difference
the music
between
that way.
athletics and art. There's like you can be an athletic musician or you can be an artist.
We try to keep it that way, somewhat interesting and tricky for us too.
But if it's
eclectic.
But yeah, if you go 100% athletics, then you just end up with
math metal.
Yeah,
math metal.
Math metal.
And that's only so
and if
cool.
you go with art, I mean, you can take the simplest thing and turn it into. You take one chord and turn it into a masterpiece that lasts for hundreds of years. That's the difference between the art and the math.
Orchestras are great. I mean, geez, they take one theme and they just fucking beat it.
Look at Heroin and Lou Reed and some other the Velvet Underground shit where it's just drones and it goes on, but it works and it sticks and it stands the test of time. But not that there isn't cool shit, with math metal too. There's, it's a whole other art form in itself. I don't know.
I'll tell you one thing we did which was cool for us as a band, me and Brian, was when we come to Shahn's studio. That was neat because he does it really old school way, and that was fun. And the band has just been a fucking pleasure, dude. I feel so happy and honored. It's a gift. I really think it's a gift all the time. It's cool, but yeah. But that doing the thing in your studio, Shahn, that was fun, man. We really enjoyed it.
Well, we're going to do more of that.
Because we do a lot of recording as a band. We play out very little, and we do more recording and writing than we do play out. We don't play out a lot like all the time, like some bands that are just playing all the time. We're kind of picky with our shows. We don't, we're playing once or twice a month, and we don't do that even all the time, 12 months a year. But and we go to a lot of, long story short, we go to a lot of studios, and I've been in a lot of studios. I've been working in studios for 30 years now, but I've never really done too much like that, where it's an old school style, and we're using these old fucking amps and the old Ludwig drum set, and it's live in the room, and like the band never did that. And I was a little nervous with Brian coming, like, I don't know what to write. I kept telling
you guys had that room fucking shaking like it hasn't shook before. I mean, we might have gotten there a couple of times with Ruben where it was going, but you guys did a sustained 2 hours of making that shack. You had it dialed in.
The mood was great, Albert. The chips were there. The people were around. Mike and his chick was here, and everybody. Mike, what's her name?
What?
Mike's chick.
Renee.
His wife. Yeah, Mike and Renee.
How about her with the picture taken?
Yeah. Yeah, we had the photo girl here. Isaac's friend there.
Yeah. Everybody.
Thinking about all the things we shouldn't say right now. I'm going to edit the film, man. But yeah, man.
No, it's an amazing experience. It's cool seeing like so many musicians like existing in a simultaneous like creative space for songs, and just through like communication and everything, seeing how like every potential sort of outcome of a song is like, I mean, there's been some pretty killer stuff come out of just even since I've been in the band and stuff,
The
like
writing process, you mean?
Seeing how songs just sort of form.
Yeah.
Just how you just work shit out for weeks and months, and it's just it's amazing.
It is a gift, dude. Music is so cool. To being able to do it, like, I don't know how it happened, but I just got into it young and just kept doing it.
Understandably so.
And it's like,
no, it's good.
I'm producing now, so that's awesome.
Slow down.
Oh wow, I'm a producer. Oh cool. I'm a Mason too. I don't know. You just do these things, and like he said, when we work on the songs, it's like I found a producer's like a coach because I do the paintball and that too. And so like,
if I'm lucky.
You're not going to put a square fucking peg in a round hole, so you got to find out.
You never know. 87.
You have a bunch of holes, and that might be your tools, your studio stuff, things you're going to do, and things and then you have all these pegs and things, and you're going to have to fit these things into your toolbox of things, and that's how you get the best out of the band. It's not like being a music director, if I'd be bold to say that, is like
10 to 20.
Or we were talking about the Army guy before. A good commander listens to
his, a
good lieutenant listens to the sergeants, because everybody's so important. That everybody's being heard, and that's how we develop the songs and work them. Because
I remember
if
when
you
I
do
was
that, you get it. Everybody's input, and I believe the spokes on the wheel. I always say we got to always make spokes on the wheel because it's bigger than the one of its each. One goes out, the wheel wobbles. So take care, brother.
We'll be there at some point.
So that's a big powwow thing too. Is spokes on the wheel. I believe that one is bigger than the sum, or however that saying goes.
Right.
Which is with farming and agriculture and culture and families and the music culture. You get the right guys together. Together they can do stuff, but
Isaac can keep an eye on.
Or separate they can do stuff, but together they do this thing.
Good boy.
So as a producer, that's what we try to do. Produce our own music. We all produce like this.
Yeah. I mean, he's smart. In a different environment, he would have excelled.
And how long has
this ain't
POW WOW been going?
Environment for a dog
15 years.
Run 20 miles a day.
And it's probably a little bit.
This is POW WOW talk though, because Huskies are POW WOW, bro. So like,
wow,
that's another. We're always talking about nature. I think people should be close to nature. I do believe humans have a nature deficit disorder.
Okay.
Yeah, our culture today it's a nature deficit disorder. Something happens when you're close to nature. We're not above it. We're in it. It's a sphere, not a pyramid. I believe that.
400 feet long or so.
One thing that like always like cracked me up we're always in one way. We're always outside.
You're no longer,
I don't believe that there really is an inside.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Like, okay, we're in this house, but where's the house?
It's outside. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, amen.
So I rip up and drive.
Like us, like closing a door or shutting a window
22 miles an
is
hour,
not like we think the average person thinks of it as this ultimate barrier.
At the same time, but
close that door, now we're inside, we're not apart. Where it's just we're all outside.
It's a funk zone. You're keeping your funk in the house.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not
a shithole. We are outside. Hi, doggy. Here's a brown dog. Everybody, say hi.
Hey, Ringo.
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 Hi, Yogi.
What are you talking about? Huskies over there?
Ringo.
He's got to have a 200-mile area to live in?
He'll do 20 miles a day is what he's bred for.
A lab.
Dalmatians. He's half Dalmatian. Like, look at his rib cage. You'll see it's bulbous. That's the Dalmatians. They go all the way back to Egypt. There's there's hieroglyphs of Dalmatians running with the chariots into battle, and they've been stable dogs that live with the horses for like 4,000 or 5,000 years. When they discovered them 500 years ago,
they ended up in Germany.
Dalmatia, which is like Eastern Europe, coming down to what's the sea there? Is that the Caspian Sea? Whatever it is, they're on the Dalmatia, wherever that is. They found them 500 years ago, and the aristocracy of Europe was like, "Oh my God, what a wonderful carriage dog!" But up until that point, they had been sentry dogs for hunter-gatherers for thousands of years. And they would run with horses. So they were used to pulling 20-mile days. That's why the
cool patterns on Dalmatians, dude.
And that's why they've got the bulbous. Anytime you see a Dalmatian, look at their rib cage. They're meant for cardio shit, and they have a huge rib cage.
Like a greyhound.
And okay, we need to cover 1,000 miles in 5 days. Okay, and they do 100 miles a day for
like
whatever,
Huskies
10 days. Yeah, like that. But Ringo's a unique thing. He's also a Labrador, which was first bred.
So stupid.
He's got lab, but here's what the labs were originally bred for something equally amazing.
Swimming.
Imagine you're Vikings and you're sitting there up in the North Sea somewhere, and it's the middle of winter, and you're in the North Sea, and there's waves rolling in, and you've got fishing nets out there. The Labrador Retriever was bred to jump into the fucking freezing cold ocean, swim out, grab the net, and drag it back in the middle of winter.
So that's what they retrieve.
That's why they're a retriever.
Now because they would pull ducks. Now they'll get ducks or anything you shoot.
Yeah, waterfowl.
But you guys, you come from a hunting background, yes? You guys must know about these dogs.
We've never really done any kind of, or at least I haven't with waterfowl and duck hunting. Yeah. But I'm not sure what my uncle's got.
You should do a podcast with your fucking grandfather, man.
Well, that would be badass.
Yeah. He could do it. Like, he's still together, man.
I can only imagine the stuff
he was
your
hurting there for a
grandfather
minute.
knows.
He fell and he broke his clavicle, his collarbone, and 6 ribs.
Oh my God.
But they had him in the hospital. They took him.
Is it knitting?
Oh no, he's fine now. He's fine. His collarbone, they had him in a sling that was just not a sling he was supposed to be in, and his collarbone just healed wrong. It was just sticking out. We took him down to the doctor.
And he's just in good spirits, or is he chill? Yeah, he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I had to buy him a new Ford hat the other day.
Did you? Cool. How old is he?
He's 86, I believe.
Dale, his grandfather's like just a real cool old guy, man, from around here, and he has, his family is huge here. I don't know if you know this.
But yeah.
Yeah. And I grew up here, so
okay.
Knowing them all. My mom used to own the Village Market.
You guys are 1700s, aren't you, up here?
1796, I believe.
And that's up into the Poconos. You probably came out of Jersey before that. So do you guys have like French in you somewhere?
We've got German.
Definitely German. That's kind of like having French.
Yeah, German, Pennsylvania, Dutch. My last name is Welsh. It comes from Wales.
Okay.
It was Aprice. There's like this book. I wish I knew where it was, because I remember I was younger. I read like the first couple pages. I'm like, this is cool. Maybe I'll read it some other time.
Yeah, you got to find that.
Yeah, it's
someone in our family, couple generations back, wrote it, and it's just about the history. And yeah, the last name comes from Wales. This is the third version of that name. It's the last version was Apryce. It was spelled Apryce. Then it was Price with a Y. Now it's Price with an I.
Huh.
And I'm not really sure about, other than, you know, German, Italian, because my great-grandmother was from Sicily.
Okay.
But German, Italian, Pennsylvania, Dutch, and I guess some Welsh in there.
Wow,
somewhere.
Sicilian. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
awesome.
part Sicilian a little bit.
So, other than that, I'm not really too sure.
Yeah, plenty of time to find out more, though. That's cool shit. That's all kinds of good stuff to look up.
Dutch, they definitely came down from the Hudson Valley into this area.
We're Dutch.
They were here. They were here a while because this was all New Amsterdam at one point, right?
Mm-hmm. I know. Who was it? The guy that founded my grandmother down by West Trenton, New Jersey. She was married to my grandfather, of course, and my grandfather's grandfather. He was born in 1832. And his mother was a maid, and so the story goes, his father was a Van Zant he founded Doylestown, and she was the maid for the guy that founded Doylestown, and he knocked her up, and she kept the maiden name of Wilson at that point, but it's really Van Zant's. But those Van Zant's came out of New Amsterdam in the 1600s when they were pushing north, and he bought up all of what's now Doylestown.
These ones are Van Wise up here.
Okay.
The copper miners.
And Van Zant's down there. Yeah. So the copper miners, is that the copper mine over in the Water Gap? That's so fucking cool. I used to go there all the time. As soon as I got a driver's license when I was 17, it was like 1987, and it was weekend. I'm like, come on, guys, everyone get in the car. We'd all get stoned and drive up to the fucking Water Gap and hike into the thing and go back to the copper mines before the gate was on it or anything.
It goes up into New York State like 100 miles, but I've never been up there. I don't know where. Apparently they from what I understand now, I've had guys up there tell me that the Indians had copper up there, but I don't think they found copper. I remember reading the books, and I'd like to know this for real, that the Dutch looked for copper. The Indians had copper, but it came from wherever the fuck, New Mexico or somewhere ridiculously
it came
far.
from Michigan. The oldest mining there is on Isle Royale.
Right, there's no
in
copper
Lake
here,
Superior.
correct?
No, there is. There's the purest copper on the face of the earth.
In the Northeast?
In Isle Royale. Michigan,
But not
in Lake
in
Superior, an island on the north shore of Superior, is Isle Royale, and they were mining that shit 7,000 years ago.
And that's where these Indians were getting the copper
7,000
from trade,
years ago.
which is amazing.
And the shit's worked its way all the way into Egypt, too. Like, I guess they can look at the isotopes and tell the origin of the copper on the planet, and like 3,500, 4,500 years ago, there's copper sitting in Egyptian artifacts that came from that area, apparently, as I've read in a lot of places. But yeah, there's pure veins of copper like 12 feet wide that they would just hack out with fucking hatchets and just pure copper. There's ingots the size of this table that weigh like, 20,000 pounds.
Right, but they didn't I don't know if they found it here. That's all, because I know the Dutch, they built that road, it was 100 miles up, and they never got no copper, and they fucking ditched, and then the English bought the area.
I know there's, I think, 6 or 7 mines. If you go to the copper mines over there at the Water Gap on the Jersey side, you hit the first big one off of the creek, but if you go straight up, it's almost a cliff, but not quite. You hit the next layer.
Do you
and
know
there's
if they
another
ever
one
found
that goes
copper in them? Did they ever find copper or not?
I know that the first mine went back. I don't know if they found copper, but
Because just because they dug a hole don't mean they found nothing.
The first mine goes back, straight back, level, 130 feet. It turns left at that point, goes out, and goes another 25 or 30 feet and opens up into a room about as big as this. If you turn right instead at that point, it goes about 40 feet. You hit another dead end. They dig out a little bit, but 15 feet before that, you turn left, and it goes back into the last mine. That's the biggest copper mine back there.
You've been in them?
I've been in them multiple times. I've got a couple of crystals like this big I've pulled out of them. that were sitting in the clay. There's just like crystals laying in the clay water, like there's pools back there. But then you go up 100 feet higher up the side of the cliff because it's a gorge that was eaten out, so you can just hit different strata. There's another one that goes back, and then there's another one that goes back.
They were looking for it.
And then there's another one that
digging
goes
their
back.
asses off,
and there's
find
6
shit.
or 7 multiple strata layers.
They moved up the river.
Now, if you go up from there and you follow what seems like the logical way further up the hill, another 20 or 30 minutes, you get to a big field with white stones in it. And it's a Lenape burial ground that's up on top there in the water gap. But you got to get way the fuck back in the woods. You're not on any trail at that point. I haven't been there in 30 years.
I know where there's a Lenape in Henryville. It's in the woods. It's awesome.
It's, what is it?
Lenape burial ground.
Burial ground.
Yeah, it's all these piles of stones. The guy that owns the property said they had it.
So it's a place to revere.
So fucking wild, dude. And there's a cool beaver habitat right there, man.
That's awesome.
He's an old guy, Alvin Ziegler. He's like, when we first bought the property, I thought that was some pioneer back there went on a fool's errand. Stacking rocks for nothing, Because I was like, dude, what are those rocks? Because when we seen it, my buddy, who I used to play in a band Unit Ready with, Luke, he's like, he didn't know what it was, and I'm like, dude, look at these fucking mounds. I'm like, dude, what is this? He's like, oh, it's an old resort or something. I'm like, no way, dude, no way. This doesn't make sense. Where was it? No, he's like, that must have been a gate. I'm like, no. And so we went up and seen the old man. And I was like, hey man, he owns a property. What is that shit? I was like, that's burial grounds. He goes, that's what it is, Tommy. Because I'd seen pictures and shit of that and read about it. Yeah, it's really neat. And some of them had like little squares with like holes in them, and he said the people that came, and I don't know who they were, man. Some people from he got a government official to come, and they had a few people come over the years, he said, but I forget who he told me they were, but they said that the Indians thought was how they come in and out of the netherworld, right, through the holes. I guess they laid the people on top and let the coyotes get them, right? They build the mounds and put the bodies on them.
It's like the Tibetans letting the vultures come in and eat all the flesh before they take the bones in. And
sky burial.
Yep, sky burial. That's it.
Yeah.
I heard a story.
They have the Muslims hack them up.
I don't know if it's. I don't know if this is true. You grew up here mostly, right?
Yeah.
So I heard this story, and I don't know if it's true, but I believed the guy when he told me, and he seemed honest. But he said, I think it was at some point, maybe in the 80s. Probably the 90s, but he was an old Indian guy from the area, and he realized he was getting up there and he was going to check out, and he hiked up to Cresco Heights, and he had a musket with him or his rifle with him, and he hung a sign around his neck that said "Do not disturb," and he sat down there and he waited till he died.
I don't know.
And they had to go up there and pull him down. I don't know if anyone remembers that.
You know what year is this? I don't know.
It might have been 80s or 90s. He was an old Indian guy.
I've never heard it.
That's a very interesting story, though. I hope it's true.
I would like to think it is. The guy that told me, he was at the Saylorsburg flea market, but he has tons of artifacts and he's a local, and he's probably got 5 or 6 or 8 years on me, and he grew up here, and he told me that happened. So I always thought that was a pretty amazing story. He knows his name. I forget his name. This was like 2.5 years ago. I heard that. I see him there once in a blue moon. I got to talk to him. He's like on my list of people I need to talk to because he's pretty interesting.
Cool things, right?
Yeah. There's another guy that sells lots of weird rakes and tools there. I got to talk to too.
Where is that? Saylorsburg?
Saylorsburg Flea Market.
They're just saying Isaac's got to go there
there
with the Mud Buddies, man.
Do you remember that show with Davey? And the fucking dog.
Davey and Goliath?
Yeah.
Davey.
Oh my God. You wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning on a cartoon day. This is being a child of the 70s, is this. And you go, you're like, I can't wait for the cartoons. And you turn it on, the only thing is Davey and Goliath. You're like, all right, I'll sit through it. It'll happen. I'll make it through. But yeah, it's always like some fucking thing where the dog's got to go do something and rescue some shit. It works out. And then you get into the whole heart of the matter, which is burning up your entire fucking childhood watching television. What a fucking sad thing.
Oh, God.
But anyway.
If it's one of those days and you're feeling afraid and there's no one to blame, try me. But please understand if it seems like I hate that I don't ever want it this way. How sorry I am. I'm sorry that I am to tell you that I would come to plant the seed and we watch it the love of the hope of tomorrow. There's no sense to be afraid. Move forward courageous with the hope of a brand new day with no deprivation. How sorry I am, sorry that I am to tell you that I would force change on you and your mentality and the way that you all live. But peace, well it's the ultimate goal for me. Well, if he wants to win with this planet, I would only ever take what I need.
It's called the American Dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Believe it. Believe it. Believe it. Believe it.